Hello, ma'am. Welcome again.
Thank you so much.
It's been about 3 or 4 months that we've not had a conversation. Last time around, I think it was in the premises of Sila Restaurant that we were talking. A few things have happened in the Nepalese aviation sector in the past 2 or 3 months. One of the most glaring things that happened about a week ago was when an engine caught fire. I think it was Fly Dubai. So when Now, give me a perspective of a cabin crew as to what the inside show really runs like, if you've ever been a part of it. And even if you've not been a part of it, what role does a cabin crew play when something like that happens?
Well, something like that, in case of in any emergency, the first thing is that we do not panic. We make sure that all our passenger stay calm because we believe like, if you're getting more panic, things could get more worse. So there's sometimes, situation that you cannot handle by yourself. So you need to stay calm until unless you do not get any, correct informations or the rights to do anything by your captain, because they are the protocol that you need to follow, which is the chain of command. So we just follow the instruction that's given by our pilot. So in case of any emergency like that, whether on ground or on air, fire or something like emergency like that, we just keep calm. And well, there's sometimes something that you can handle it. We got fire extinguisher inside the aeroplane, so you can just go and do the needful that you were taught by the safety instructor in your academy. So because what we believe is like every aircraft is designed differently. So I would only have license for few airline that I could fly, aircraft types. So maybe let's say if I'm flying Airbus A330 or 300 series, I would only have license for two or three airline type that I can fly. So because every is different, every aircraft is designed different according to the company. So we need to learn about these aircraft, where our emergency equipment have been kept or how and what to do. All these things are, you're taught when you go for a training. So in case of any situation like that, you do follow the chain of command, which is, your captain that gives you instruction what to do. Then only you go and do the needful, or else you just keep quiet. Like I'm not saying like quiet. Obviously, there's going to be a lot of panic inside, but you do not show your panic to the passenger. You make sure that you do not show your panic face to the passenger and make sure that the passenger are very quiet. If you panic, nothing's gonna happen. So, yeah.
Okay, so this is quite interesting. I mean, so if you're a cabin crew, you're only supposed to fly in certain aircraft?
Yes, yes, sir. So we only have a certificate for those aircraft that we do get training. Let's say it could be 340 or 350 or which airline you're flying. If I'm flying Qatar, they have different type of aircraft. So it could be Airbus or Dreamliner or um, you know Boeing or whatever. So you can only get license for three. So, because every aircraft is designed differently and the equipments have been kept, in a different space. So you only get license for three. You can only get license for three. You cannot fly more than those three aircraft types. So I only had like one because I was only flying 330, which is a big Airbus. So since my company only had Airbus 330 and 320, but I was only flying 330 because that was international flight. It's a long haul flight. So I only had that license. And every year you have to get license, So every end of the year, so you'll have to pass the exam, read the books, and you can only get the license then.
Well, I think that this is something that a lot of people might not know about because they tend to think that
It is.
cabin crew are just people who are suffering with
Yes.
the sky.
Well, it is not that easy. Trust me. Because yes, everyone would definitely think that, because we do go for 3 months training, which is not easy because there's going to be first aid, there's going to be safety, there's going to be drills, which is going to be like fire, water, slides, everything is there. And you have to pass in all of that. And, it's not easy like people think, oh, what does a cabin crew do? They just come, serve you food. That is secondary. Yes, we do that. That is very secondary. But our first priority would be looking after the safety of the passenger, and that's where all the focus are. But people are very unaware of that.
Yeah, I mean, even I did not know that you've got to take exams regularly.
Yes.
Last time when we talked,
Yes.
you told me that there are certain types of examinations that you have even before you get into a
Yes.
particular flight. How does that really work?
So let's say it's just preparing yourself for after you're done with your 3 months of training, you get your certificate, you graduated. So you cannot, you just don't assume like, okay, I've done my graduation, I'm done, I'm good to fly. No, it's not like that. You get the 6 months of provision period where you have been being observed, and every flight is different because every destination or airport or country has different rules and regulations. So you have to go according to that. It's not like, oh, I just got my graduation and I can just fly. It's not like that, because you'll have to go through your SCP, which is like your safety emergency procedure. So before your flight, let's say you have a team member of 10 or 12, depending on your aircraft type. So if my flight has like 10 crew, every individual would have to go through one round of first aid and safety cautions. And if you can go through that, you're good to go for a flight. If not, you're grounded. Means you're not able to go for that flight. So you'll have to stay back, read. Obviously, when you're grounded, there's a lot of procedure that happens according to the company. You have to do exams, you'll have to study, you'll have to go back to the academy. There's a lot of things. So it's not easy. So when you go for your briefing before your flight, I think it's a very good thing, because uh, you might be forgetting, because what we used to do is like, every flight we have to study. We know that it's going to be one round of safety and one round of first aid. So you need to know in case of emergency what's going to happen. Your captain or your purser would be the one who's in charge, would ask you randomly, okay, tell me about this. Tell me about the step that you need to do if something happens. And if you're not being able to, do, that's obviously going to go for your record. That is a minus thing. So it's very important that, it's kind of refreshing also for your flight. Before your flight, you go, and it helps, all the crew member to, just go for a quick briefing. Okay, in case of emergency, we need to do this. Yes, knowing the fact that we've already done our exam part and all that, but still, there could be times like when, you did not sleep properly, or you like, you're lazy. But then at the time of briefing and flight, once you don your uniform, I think you have to forget everything and you need to be very alert. So that is very important.
Yeah, I think that there is a lack of perception, of a good perception of cabin crew in our country in general. And I don't think that it's insular to our country itself. I think even outside of our country,
Yes.
it's a general notion
Well,
across people that,
having saying that, even for me, when I joined, when I wanted to become a cabin crew, I was very unaware of all this thing. I simply thought that, it's just like, you're walking like a model, dragging your bag, going for a flight, serving passenger. But when I came to the reality, it hit me like, I was like, oh, I was wrong. This is not what I thought. So that's when the reality hit me also, because I was very unaware of that situation. Yeah, so it's actually very difficult.
so how, according to you, can we change this general perception that we have, even at a time when, as you say, even trained cabin crew don't really know what they're getting their hands on? How difficult is it a prospect to change this perception that cabin crew are simply glorious waitresses in the sky?
Well, I think these days, people do believe now. I believe, like, they know that it is not as easy as it used to be before, I guess. Because, earlier those days, people used to take it very lightly. But now, I think the children have started educating their parents that it is not easy job, because, when there's an incident, everyone is looking up on their cabin crew. So I think, you know, I'm sure, like, now it has been vast different that they've started taking it very seriously, because you see a lot of people are interested in aviation industry comparison to those days. They know it is hard work. They know it is also easy money, and they know it is, glamorous job. But at the same time, there's a lot of rules and regulation that you'll have to follow according to the company. So nowadays I think parents are very much aware of that. Yeah. I mean, like, the one in the city, I think had did not had any problem, I guess. But if you see people from outside city, I think they're also very aware of that these days, because cabin crew is not an easy job for them. Also, they know that because they'll have to come do some training and pass the exams and get graduated, and then only you can fly. So I think it is a nice thing that everyone is being aware of that.
So, do cabin crew also have to go to the rural parts of our country in order to get the trainings?
No, you don't have to do that. So let's say you join Qatar or you join any of the company or Yeti or Buddha. So they have their own office or headquarter that you can go and do your training. So you don't have to go anywhere. You just have to go to your academic class and do the training.
So,
Yeah.
what does a training period comprise of? Say you've got about 3 months of training. What are the things that you learn?
Oh, it's actually depending on the company. Like, let's say for me was 3 months, and for my surprise, we had to wake up at 5 because our class used to start by 8. Well, let's say if it is 9, it's exactly 9. Because since it was abroad, so you'll have to travel, so that 1 hour for your traveling, 1 hour for your, getting grooming classes. So waking up at 5, having a breakfast at 6, leaving at 7, reaching there by 8, and your class starts by 9. And it was like, there's a big, book that you need to study, and you have safety and first aid, that is different parts. So you have your, let's say you're doing your first aid. So alternative day, you have your exam. So, once you have your exam, alternative day, there's no way that you can go and hang out. You'll be like, oh my God, I got to do my exam tomorrow. I need to learn. I need to pass, and your passing max would be 90. And if you get 90, it's like embarrassing because you're like, you just passed. Like, oh my God, it's like a failing thing. So you'll have to score 100 because that's going to be record for your whole time, your day in the company. So, you have that passion of getting 100 every time. Every exam that you would get, every alternative day, I need to get 100. So you're starting every 3 months, and trust me, it's not easy. Like, you don't have time to eat, you don't have time to go out, and you're so busy doing your grooming. You have to be fit. You're going to the gym, you're working out. Because this physically and mentally you have to be fit. So it's all about your timetable, because in the aviation industry, let's say if your flight schedule is at 7 a.m. in the morning, you can't be reaching at 7, because that's your departure time. So you have to reach 1 hour early inside the aircraft, 1 hour for your office, 1 hour for your road trip, 1 hour for your grooming, 1 hour to wake up. So it's like 4 and 5 hours early that you need to wake up. So that teaches like you to become, you to stay in a disciplined way. And, all those hanky-panky stuff that you wanted to do, like, hang out with your friends and go here, go there, I think that's all not happening. For the training time, you really have to be disciplined. You really know, you should really be focused on how you want to do your, journey ahead. So that is something that you really need to have patience. If you do not have that, I think you're not fit for aviation industry, because people think, oh, it's just, glamorous, you can do whatever. No, it's not like that, because each and everything counts. Your grooming. When I say grooming, it's just not about, you looking pretty. It's about your hair, your nails, your skin, your outfit, everything is counted. So yeah, it's very tough.
So, the different types of training that you do depends upon the type of aircraft as well, as you said.
Yes. So since I was doing 330, Airbus 330, which is 377 seated passenger, aircraft body type. So your emergency equipment is kept differently. Your door slides are different. Your emergency slide is different because it's much more bigger and, the longer. So it's even scary when you have to jump from that. And your, equipments for maybe, drafting, like, if you have a water crash ditching, that would be different. Your everything is different. Even for your pilot emergency things, it's going to be different. So you're trained just according to that. So if I have to go for 320, it's a small aircraft for me. So it's different. Every equipments are different. Every engine types is different. So, it's you're taught differently.
Uh, I was reading about a particular incident about a week ago. We have this series that we're running where we talk about one specific incident that took place in the aviation sector that changed it in some ways. And I found out that in the United States of America, in a flight that was operated by Aloha Airlines, the roof of the plane came off.
Yeah.
And there was a cabin crew who was blown out of the plane, and her body was never found.
True.
When I read that,
True.
I thought this is a very difficult job.
She was a senior cabin crew on that aircraft. So, like I said, every aircraft body type is different. That incident happened because of the screw inch. It was just like 0.5. The engineer did a mistake on that. So it's not like you can't take it lightly. You can't be like, oh, I'm just gonna fit it.
You can't simply say it's just a screw.
Yeah. So it does matter. Everything matters. If I think I've mentioned it before, every individual in the aviation industry plays their role, whether it is cleaner or engineer or ramp guy, cabin crew, pilot, security. Everyone has their role. So it's not just pilot and cabin crew. Because I think if you look at the chain of the command in the aviation industry, everyone is playing their role, and it's about belief that you have in them. Okay, they're doing their job, right. So let's say a cater guy, he's gonna come store food. We would never check that, only a galley crew would check that, because we're not gonna open all the meals. It could be anything inside, but it's a belief that we have in that. So, like we said, for the aircraft, where the senior purser, she flew, and we never got her body back, just because of that one screw that was, placed mistakenly. Yes, and the thing changed, and later only they found out it was because of the screw that the whole thing flew off. So yeah, you can't just be taking things lightly in that.
So what really inspired you to get into this particular field?
Well, like I said, I was very unaware of, all the hard work that's inside when it just hit the reality when I joined. For me, it was just all about being glamorous. You get to travel the world, you get to see a lot of places, try culture, food, money. So, yeah, that was the one thing that I really wanted to become that. And when I went in it, and it was different. So, it was not like easy as people think. Yes, we'll be smiling, we'll be looking fresh, glamorous, you're always pretty, but the hard work and everything that we have is all inside us. So yeah.
And was it not really difficult? I mean, as we talked about a bit earlier, that the perception about cabin crew is not all that great in our country, though it is changing. It has gone better with time. But during the time that you wanted to become a cabin crew, maybe parents or maybe a few of our relatives might have been really upset. Was it really the case?
Oh, yes. Tell me about it. Well, my parents were very supportive, so I really do not have much of an issue on that. But, like we said, relatives are always there. And like, why are you sending your daughter? Oh my God. What if like some incident happened? And, all these things. But thankful, my parents, they're like, no, it's okay. Let her do whatever she wants to do. And I was very prepared for, anything that would come. And I would tell my mom, like, don't worry, if I'm going to fall from 40,000 feet, I will still come alive, okay? So, all these things, I was just trying to get her prepared. But yes, of course, she would always get worried. Parents, they're always worried for their child. But it wasn't really difficult. But yes, eventually after a couple of years, I think everyone was okay when they saw my picture of, flying all over the world. So probably, yeah, even those relatives who did not like me flying, I think they were also okay with that. And eventually they would call you and be like, hey, okay, you're in Hawaii. Can you get me some stuff?
Can you get you chocolates?
Yeah, well, it's about sunglasses or perfumes. And I was like, okay, yeah. So, yeah.
And How long did you work as a cabin crew?
6.5 years.
6.5 years. And this was in.
I was with AirAsia based in Kuala Lumpur. So yeah.
So you only flew in one particular airlines throughout your life? Did you not really have the wish to change colors, maybe?
Well, I did, but like I said, my first actually was with Indigo, but unfortunately, I could not fly much with Indigo because of my nationality, because then Indigo was only flying domestic, and since I was a Nepali passport holder, there's a lot of, rules and protocols that you'll have to follow, and some airline did not give me airport entry pass. So I had to, back off. But then I always thought to myself, like, never mind, if not that, something better is waiting for me. So I got through AirAsia X. I did wanted to fly with Emirates, which is, I did try, but every time I reached to the fourth state, I would come back. And then I realized maybe it was because of my face, because, even if I would have tried with Qatar, I think I would have made it, but I wasn't sure with Qatar because, there's a lot of strict rules with Qatar Airways, and I wasn't ready for that. So, I said, never mind, I'm happy with Aviation X. So I just stayed back.
Oh, you said that something to do with your face?
Yes.
I don't think.
So, well, it's not about, I do not have any mark or anything like that. I'm not saying that I'm not pretty, but yes, even some of the airline, they do look for, certain type of faces, like maybe it could be square or round or sharp. So my face fits very right for Qatar because it's round. For Emirates, it has to be like, sharp features. So maybe it was maybe because of that, because I always made it till the fourth round. And every time I was with fourth round, I would not make it. So I felt like maybe because it was my face type that, I did not have it. So it was always round. So I was fit for Qatar, but that's what I thought. Okay, I might not be, but that's what I thought to myself. So I just thought, it's okay.
So what were the first 3 rounds like?
Well, it's all about your grooming, your English, your test. You have English written and writing test, and obviously spoken. And, I was always good with that. I think I made it through that. But every time I go with the fourth round, which is, one by one, maybe they're just observing you, your face. There could be anything that, it could be anything. Yeah. So I'm not sure exactly what, but that's what I thought. Maybe because it's my face type because it's round. So, yeah.
So how much did the aviation sector for cabin crew change for the 6.5 years that you worked? Were there any different types of rules that were brought about, say, compared to when you started and around the time you thought to hang up your boots?
Well, I think they've always been improving a lot since AirAsia X has been awarded for the 10th year for your safety, So for the 10th year, it was always about safety. We've been winning awards. So, to maintain that, your safety has always been improving. Your first is always improving because, once you've always been winning award, you cannot be going back. So by the time I was there, it's always about the improvement. You're always bringing new things, new changes for the improvement. And yes, every time, you're going for a flight, you'll have to make sure that you check your meal because you wanted to know what's the new thing, new changes that has come. So you can't be going on a briefing table and, you look like a dumb and you're like, I have no idea what's happening. No. So every flight, before your flight, you go for a training, your briefing. You make sure that you check your meals, for any changes that has come. So you have to update your book. So you'll have to read the book. What is the new changes that has come? So yeah, there would be like almost every time there would be a lot of changes that's happening for safety. And I think which is very good because, you're improving your company's been improving, and which is good for us because, if you're doing good, your company's doing good, obviously, your bonus is going to be good. So,
Okay, that's wonderful. And why only 6.5 years? Why not more than that?
well, I believed one or the other day you'll have to come back to your hometown. So, since I'm not from Malaysia, my base is back home in Nepal. So it was just right before COVID that I left and I came back to Nepal. Yeah. So
So you had to stay the whole time in Malaysia?
yes. So my base was there. So I would be flying from Malaysia itself. So I was just there.
Ah, that's wonderful. How was Malaysia like?
It it was very fun. It was very fun. It's not like people would be like, oh, it's a Muslim country, because there's a lot of mixed culture. They're Malaysian Chinese, they're Malaysian Indian, they're Malay, and there's a lot of Chinese, Japanese, Korean. All of them are mixed. So I think it was very fun. It wasn't as difficult as I thought. But yes, initially those days when we started our training, oh my God, we had so much problem with food because everything is sweet, and you're like,
Even the meat is sweet.
yes, you're like walking down the street and you'll be like, oh, there's like red meat. Okay, let's try. Because I can see some spice. But once you put the meat on your mouth, it's like sweet. But eventually, after a few months, you got used to it, and you're in love with the food. I used to love nasi lemak. So yeah.
And how was it working with other crew members? Maybe perhaps they were not from Nepal, they were maybe from Malaysia, maybe from other countries. How well was the bond between cabin crew?
So, since AirAsia, we used to fly a lot of destinations, and every destinations, like let's say, if you're flying to Nepal, there has to be one Nepalese crew because of the language barrier. So, if you're flying to Japan, there has to be Japanese crew. Same goes to all the countries. So, if you're flying to Iran or Korea or China, there's going to be all these nationality crews. So every time you fly, there's going to be a lot of mixed nationality inside the aircraft. So all the cabin crew would be different culture, different nationality. But for me, the incident that as I remember, was I was flying to Gold Coast in Auckland, and sadly there was all Malaysian crew, and I was only Nepali crew on that flight. And I think I really hated that flight because people all are talking in Malay, and I was the only one who did not speak or understand that language. And it was very sad because people did not see that I was there. Um, just because of that one incident, I didn't really like flying with Malaysian crew, but not all of them are bad. But once you have mixed culture, mixed nationality, everyone is speaking English, and it's actually fun because you're getting to know different culture and different food. So yeah, I think, or else it's all fun.
Yeah, I mean, this is one of the things that happens when you go to the rural parts of our country as well. So if there's a Rai community,
Yeah,
the only one who doesn't understand the language, everybody's talking in the Rai, and
true.
it feels as if they don't really have the capacity to welcome you in
Yeah,
some ways.
true.
And maybe, I mean, it might also be down to the fact that they're not really aware of it. You don't, they've not been on the other side where they've been in a flight with all Nepalese crew, with only Nepalese talking,
Yeah.
and they don't really feel excluded in that way.
Yes. Since we had already experienced that, I always made sure I would never do that to any of the crew. If we're international crew flying, I would make sure if I have a Nepali batchmate flying with me, I would make sure that I would speak English in front of them so that they do not feel hurt. They do not feel like we're talking about them.
Yeah.
So I made sure that I would not repeat that story to any other crew. So yeah, I mean, or else because since AirAsia has more than 1,000 plus crew, you know, and everyone is different. There's new faces every time you fly on board. You do not fly with the same crew again and again. You'll be like flying with them maybe after 2 years. So you just forget the incident, something like that, and you just go on. Because since you're a cabin crew, that's the first thing when they take interview, they would be like, how friendly are you? I think this is one of the reasons why they ask, like, how friendly are you? Would you be able to adjust with the environment, your surrounding? And I think this is what it was meant to be. So when you go on board, it's all different people that you see on board, so you just have to adjust.
Well, you told me that last summer when we had this conversation, you told me that there was a flight that was too scary and that you wrote a letter
I did.
saying that perhaps
Yeah.
last perhaps.
Yeah.
So
You might not find me.
oh, you might not find me. Has there been any other notable incident in your life where you've
Well,
in a similar way?
yeah, there's been a lot of incident, but I would not really write a note because that was a bit scary. So So I was like, okay, let me just write it. I find it so funny right now, but well, then was a bit scary. But you do go through a lot of incident, almost like not every day, but there could be incident like where they because of the turbulence or you know your engine problems or something like that. So you get used to it. Yeah, and people would be like, "Oh, I'm so scared of turbulence," and I'll be like, "Whoa, that's the best part." I know turbulence. Some
It's the easier one.
yeah, because when there's turbulence, captain will be like, "Crew, be safe because of turbulence." So you just go sit, relax, chill. So I think that was very fun. Yeah.
So has there ever been where you've landed funnily? I mean, sometimes the landings are not very, very smooth.
Yes.
Sometimes it tends to.
Because of the wind, there's a lot of time when you wanted to land, there's going to be crosswind. So, well, we do not really have much to do with that because, captain would be taking
Okay.
his role. Yeah. So we just need to be very patient, alert. And if anything like that, we just need to be ready to open the emergency exit. So we just keep, calm and do not panic. So there has been a lot of time, where you wanted to land or you wanted to take off, some other thing happening, but we would not know right then because we have to wait for captain permission. So, we just play cool.
Fair.
Yeah.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to ask you, and this relates to the food.
Mm-hmm.
So you've tried so much food at the various parts of your country. Is it really the case that the food in an aircraft is not as good as compared to it is on the ground?
Well, frankly saying, see, the foods are prepared way earlier than it is supposed to be because let's say if my company is taking, we have like 100 aircraft and your aircraft does not stay on ground for more than an hour, you're just flying and flying. So just imagine how many food you need to prepare in one day. So, that food is being prepared maybe a month or 3 months earlier, but the way they make it is very, hygiene and all that stuff has been obviously taken care. The food inspector would be coming and checking, because you can't be, you can't be just, making some food randomly. There's going to be food inspector, that's coming and checking on your food. There's going to be food license because, it's going to get cancelled. Since AirAsia had our own place to, get your food done, so I think the food was taken care really well because you will not be, as a passenger, you will not be flying very often. But as a crew, you'll be flying almost every day. So we do not really take food, often because we just eat salad or we'll bring our own food. But yes, there will be time like if I'm flying to Hawaii, I would definitely eat the meal. I would definitely eat crew meal because it's gonna be yum. It's going to be freshly made. But it's frozen. It's frozen in such a way that it is not spoiled. So if you take your food like as a even if you are a frequent flyer, I think should be okay with the food because you'll not be consuming it very often. So I think should be okay.
So the frozen food gets heated in the.
Yes, we have like like I've said, every cabin crew has its different role and individually they have to play it. So if I am a galley crew, it is my duty, my responsibility to make sure that I look after the food. So uh, there's a lot of varieties of food inside the aircraft. It's just not one meal. So I as a crew, galley crew, has to know how many minutes I have to heat what meal. So first I need to thaw the meal. Where I'm melting the ice. And then I am heating the meal. So you'll have to be very careful what meal I am eating. It cannot be overcooked. Like let's say if I have pasta, I cannot be overcooking the meal. But if it is something to do with the rice, I make sure that it is properly heated. So every food has their own standard of heating, so it's not easy. So yeah.
So how big would the kitchen where the heating takes place be?
Depending on your aircraft type, like I'd say if it is 330, 340, 350, it's depending on that. If it is 330, it's just like, a small, the one that we're sitting right now, it's exactly this much. So we just got oven, chiller, everything is there. So once you become a galley crew, you should know how to, heat your fried rice or whatever meal is there on the menu, depending on your flight timing. If it is breakfast, you cannot be hitting the bun or, the bread or the sandwich. If it is lunchtime, yes, you'll have to thaw the meal, heat the meal properly. You'll have to check the meal properly, and then you're ready to serve. So once you're a galley crew, you'll have to know all this food, code, and your meal heating temperature and all that. You have to be aware of that. There was an incident where I remember it was not me, but one of my crew. I think it was the first solo flight. So we had like sandwich panini. So it comes on a plastic box. So you're not supposed to put the plastic inside the oven because the oven is really hot. And she put the oven for 20 minutes, which is like, you're almost creating a fire. So that was the first flight. So the meal got damaged. Luckily, we found it out because of the smell. It was burning. So when we checked, she said, "Oh, I just put everything inside the oven." So yeah, you should be very careful when you do, all that. So yeah.
Talking about fire in an aircraft, we also realized that a day or so ago was the anniversary when a flight that took off from Beijing and was supposed to land in Dalian, a place in China. A passenger burned the plane down. He put kerosene around, put it in flames. How is that really possible to do? I mean, when I had the report, most of the investigators said that might have been the most probable cause, because taking a look at the history of that particular passenger, it was found out that just before the flight, he had taken 7 insurance policies worth hundreds of thousands of US dollars. He had flown from Dalian to Beijing that very day and was coming back again. He found out that he was under a lot of debt, and he thought that ending his life in that way might have relieved him of all of the debt. But they said that was the most probable cause, and I want to see the perspective of our cabin crew. If it's really possible for one person to burn down an aircraft. I mean, the flight data recorder also showed that the last words of the captain was "fire, fire." So I don't really know, but is that really possible?
I'm not sure. I would not really want to comment on that because, there could be, there could not be. So, I don't know if he just wanted to, kill himself and wanted to put other in danger. Maybe, he's just a cypher.
No, I'm not talking about him in specific or what he did or his history. I'm just talking about the perspective of a flight attendant. Say, is it really possible for a passenger to set fire? And if so, what are the likely ways?
There could be a lot of way, like you wanted to create a fire. It could be from your watch or from your shoes, or they would come with a lot of ideas. I mean, because when passengers are boarding, obviously the airport also has their own safety protocols that they have to go through. You cannot carry your lighter, your matches, and all that because different countries have different rules. But people, if they have any intention like that, they would come with a lot of ideas. They wanted to burn fire. They could just, bring some chemicals or just bring some, I don't know. There's a lot of, if you check out the history, there's a lot of things that they would come with. Some people would just come with a watch. Some, yeah,
that has kerosene.
That has happened, So, or maybe he already had kerosene on his body before and he just wanted to create a fire with, with something. So you just can't stop people if they have intention like that. So they can just come up with a lot of ideas. So it can happen. It can happen.
It can happen.
So that's the reason why when you're doing your cabin check, your cabin crew is very important that you do it really properly, really thoroughly. You really have to look at all the passenger. Like let's say I am a cabin crew and you're my passenger on flight, and I find it very suspected. Like this passenger, I don't have that good vibes, something is wrong. I can always call my captain and say, I have a feeling something is wrong with this passenger, and you can always say that, before things goes worse, you can always make sure that you can do that.
And what are the protocols that are supposed to be followed after you've notified pilot that things might be suspicious in some?
Well, there's going to be security that's going to come check, there's going to be random check for all the passenger maybe, and Like, let's say I have, I have like, I feel like, this is not right. I feel something is not right with this passenger. The security would come and check on the passenger. And yes, there's going to be delay and all that stuff, but it's okay, because safety is more important.
So this is before the flight takes.
Before the flight, before the door close, we can do that. Yeah.
Oh, that's a lot of power.
Yes.
Right?
Yes. So, that's the reason why we stand on the door. If people think, we're just standing there and greeting the passenger saying, "Hi, welcome on board," you're wrong. We're not doing that. We're actually scanning you. We're scanning you like, So, yeah. So we're actually scanning all the passenger, the way how they walk, the way how they smile. The behavior also can count, because when you wanted to do something wrong, I'm sure you would be very scared, or you might seem nervous, so you don't have that eye contact with me, and I could be like, it's fishy, okay, something is not right, I could always say that, because it's just going to be two of them at the door, and there's going to be a lot of crew on the aisle, so they're also watching you, and you can always tell me, this passenger sitting on this row is not right. I don't feel he's, something is wrong. You can always say that. So we have that power. We can always call the ground staff. We can check on the history. The security will come. They can always check, and they can offload you from the flight. So yeah, well, it has also happened with us on my flight. There was this passenger sitting, and it wasn't right. So he was already with a societal thing that has on his mind, and because he and his wife were not going on a good terms, so he wanted to die. So he thought that he's just gonna kill everyone. So it was very weird that
The aircraft.
yes. So we're like, okay, this passenger does not seem right to us, and it's fishy, because he's acting weird. So yeah, we had to offload him from the flight. We're like, thank God we found it, because he was sitting like almost next to the emergency exit. He could just open the emergency exit, and things could go wrong. So yeah, so yeah, we can do that.
Is there not a procedure to do the other way around? Say you get suspicious of the cabin crew. Is there?
We have.
That is
We can do that. Even for the captains, yes, we can do that. Because that's why we have briefing. So in the briefing, we're already observing everyone, when you walk. Because, like, let's say we've been flying for a few years, and I know you, and then suddenly one day your behavior changed. You'll be like, what's wrong with you? Like, I might not tell it to you, but I will tell to the other crew, and I'll be like, something is not right. So he looks or she looks disturbed. Then I can always go tell my captain and, or my senior cabin crew, my bursar, and you can be offloaded from the flight. So, yeah, because, you'd have to be a part of the team. It's not just one crew flying. So, if one team is not alert or, look disturbing, then the whole flight is going to be ruined. So we make sure that it doesn't happen like that.
Okay, so this is something that takes place before the flight. Say
Before the door closes.
before the door closes. So has there been any incident of a passenger? I don't want you to name the particular flight or the incident, but there might have been and a very unruly passenger.
We face that a lot of time, but let's say sometimes it could be because of the alcohol, or sometimes they're just like tired or whatever, or I don't know. Sometimes they could be like they just want to die. So if something like that after the door closed and we're already up on the air, we do have the power to restrain them and make sure that they're kept separately. We inform the captain, and after giving them third, like we give them verbal, announcement, like we do in front of everyone, that okay, sir, you're doing this wrong or whatever. And if not, then we'll do what's there in the book. So we'll have to follow the company rules, and the captain will call the security after landing, and he'll be taken care of the security team. Yeah.
Now, I'm particularly fascinated with alcohol for reasons more than one, but in an aircraft, can that not be really flammable in some ways? Because alcohol does catch fire. So why do they not have prohibition against that in the aircraft?
Well, it's the company. Obviously, that could be, but when we're serving alcohol, we also make sure that we serve in the right way. Like, there's going to be, like, if you want to serve whiskey or things like that, it's always in the miniature. So we do not give the miniature bottle to the passenger. We pour it, and we just take the bottle away. We do not make sure that any sharp object or anything that's going to be dangerous, we would not give it to the passenger.
I sometimes am reminded of a great comedian by the name of George Carlin, and he said, "Look, there's so many things that you can't carry, but what if a passenger takes a fork and
Yeah.
decides to kill somebody? That is an object."
Can also happen, but we just trust our luck.
Yeah.
We just do. Because if you look at the business class, everything is not like what you get in economic. It's like properly services done. Your equipments are the proper one that you give for first class or business class passenger. So you just trust. You just think we'll have a good day.
Okay, and how has been life after you hung up your boots in some ways? How has it been like living in Nepal?
Well, well, in a way that I'm happy that I'm with my family, but at the same time I'm sad because you miss flying.
Yeah.
And yeah, you want to go back flying, you want to go places, you miss, the food, the shopping that you do outside. But at the end of the day, I know myself that one or the other day you'll have to come back to your base. So, your hometown. So it's okay. I'm happy.
So you're still involved in the aviation sector in some ways?
Some ways, yes.
And what do you really do to get in touch with it?
Well,
You're an instructor, I think.
yes. So, I'm teaching the fresh cabin crew that's there. So anyway, anyhow, if I can be a part of anything, I will always be involved with that. So yeah.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you so much, Matt, for coming,
Thank
for
you so
talking
much.
to us. It
Thank-
was a pleasure again, and I hope we could do this sometime in the future as well.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.